All right, let's dive into First Assignment, this political thriller everyone's been talking about.
By Mary Snyder, right.
Yeah, Barry Snyder. You guys have been sending this one in.
And the reviews are fantastic.
They really are. From what I've seen, it's a total page-turner.
Really gets you hooked.
Oh, yeah. Definitely sounds like it. But here's the thing that I found super interesting. You ready for this?
Lay it on me.
So Mary Snyder,
Yeah.
not your typical thriller writer.
What do you mean?
Well, she actually spent years as a nurse.
A nurse? Wow.
Yeah, in psychiatry and palliative care.
That's quite a background.
Talk about a plot twist, right?
Definitely not what I was expecting.
Me neither. Makes you wonder what kind of stories someone with that experience would come up with.
Well, I can tell you First Assignment definitely doesn't disappoint. It centers around this CIA analyst, Alex Everett,
Okay.
and it's his very first field assignment, fresh out of training.
So he's kind of thrown into the deep end.
Exactly. And let me tell you, he stumbles upon a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top.
So we're talking government corruption,
Oh, yeah.
international espionage, the whole 9 yards.
And then some. We've got a corrupt U.S. president pulling the strings,
Wow.
a troubled Marine caught in a dangerous situation over in the Middle East,
Okay.
and a senator harboring a secret that could bring the whole house of cards down.
This is already sounding intense.
Oh, it gets wild.
All right, so I did a little digging into Mary Snyder's background,
Oh, yeah.
and I read that she drew inspiration from, her love of spy novels,
I say?
classic spy novels, but also, this is interesting, her concerns about honesty in conservative politics, especially after, everything that happened with January 6th.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you can definitely see those themes playing out in the book.
So how does she weave those real-world concerns into the story without, turning it into a political lecture?
Well, that's the thing. She does it really well. One of the things that struck me was how she blends these classic thriller elements, the fast-paced action, the twists and turns,
Yeah.
but with this very timely commentary on what's happening in the world today.
Interesting. So it's like she's holding up a mirror to society.
In a way, yes. You'll find yourself drawing parallels to real-world events, questioning how much of this fictional world might be closer to reality than we'd like to think.
Okay, that's fascinating. Now, the reviews, everyone's been praising the book for its complexity, but also the realistic portrayal of, all the political maneuvering and espionage.
Yeah.
How does she pull that off, especially as a first-time thriller writer?
From what I've gathered, she did a ton of research. I mean, she really dug deep into the world of intelligence agencies,
wow.
the whole shadowy underbelly of political power plays. And it shows she brings this level of detail and authenticity to the story that really resonates with readers.
I bet her background in psychiatry comes into play here, too.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the insights you gain into human behavior working in that field.
Right.
I'm sure that informed her character development, the psychological tension she builds throughout the story.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've got a gripping plot, complex characters, and this real-world relevance that's got everyone talking. What else makes First Assignment stand out from all the other political thrillers out there?
Well, one thing that surprised me was the setting.
Okay, where does it take place?
You ready for this? The Midwest.
The Midwest, really?
Yeah. Not your typical spy thriller locale. Right?
No, not at all. I mean, you usually picture these stories happening in Washington, D.C. or, some exotic foreign location.
Exactly. But Snyder flips the script. She uses this Midwest setting to create this really interesting contrast between the seemingly ordinary lives of these characters
Yeah.
and the extraordinary circumstances they're thrust into. It adds this unique flavor to the story.
I can see how that would work. It was like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You throw a pebble in a pond and those waves spread out. Even a small event in a quiet corner of the world can trigger something much bigger.
Exactly. And those consequences, those ripples, are what drive the story forward. Alex, our protagonist, gets caught in this web of deceit and manipulation that reaches far beyond anything he could have imagined.
It sounds like he's in over his head.
Oh, definitely. Now, speaking of Alex, what's he like? Is he your typical action hero?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
He's not your cookie-cutter spy, that's for sure. He's young, idealistic, and he's thrown into a situation that quickly reveals the darker side of the world he's stepped into.
Okay, so not the jaded, seen-it-all type.
No, not at all. What's fascinating about Alex is watching him grapple with these moral dilemmas he faces. He's forced to question everything he thought he knew.
Everything.
Yeah, including his own loyalty to his country, to his agency.
Wow, that sounds like a really intense internal struggle.
It is. You find yourself rooting for him to uncover the truth, but also worried about the toll this whole ordeal is taking on him.
I bet those moral dilemmas are amplified by the fact that he's up against some pretty powerful figures.
Oh, absolutely. There's this constant sense of danger, of uncertainty throughout the book. You never know who to trust or what's going to happen next.
Sounds like a real edge-of-your-seat kind of read.
Oh, definitely. Now, before we move on, I have to ask about the romantic element. Any hints you can give without spoiling too much?
Yeah. Spill the tea.
All right, well, let's just say Alex finds himself drawn to a woman who, at first glance, seems connected to the very conspiracy he's trying to unravel.
Oh, no. That's not good.
Talk about complicating things.
Yeah. I bet that creates some serious tension.
Oh, it does. Their relationship is full of suspicion, mistrust, but there's also this undeniable spark between them.
Forbidden love, huh? Always a recipe for drama.
It definitely adds fuel to the fire. And I gotta say, one thing that really stood out to me from the reviews,
Yeah, what's that?
readers are raving about the book's pacing. They're saying it's fast-paced, exciting, full of suspense.
So it's not a slow burn.
Not at all. It grabs you from the first page and doesn't let go.
Sounds like First Assignment really delivers on all fronts.
It does. And you know what else?
What?
Many reviewers are saying how timely and relevant the book feels.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier.
But it's worth emphasizing, this isn't just a mindless thriller. It's a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat, but it'll also make you think.
Makes you think about the world around us.
Exactly. It shines a light on some uncomfortable truths about power, corruption, the choices we make when the stakes are high.
And how those choices can have far-reaching consequences.
Precisely. Welcome back.
We're diving back into the world of First Assignment.
Picking up where we left off.
All that political intrigue.
And those twists and turns.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear more about Mary Snyder herself, though.
Oh, definitely. I mean, her background is so unique.
It really is. I mean, a former nurse.
Yeah, and not just any nurse.
Psychiatry and palliative care.
Right, talk about a different perspective on life.
And death.
Exactly. I bet those experiences had a huge impact on her writing, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine the stories she must have encountered, the insights into the human psyche.
It makes you wonder how those experiences might have shaped her approach to this story, particularly how she portrays Alex's internal struggles.
Oh, yeah.
His moral dilemmas, his doubts. It all feels so authentic.
I wonder if her time working with patients facing, their own mortality might have influenced how she portrays those internal battles.
It's a really interesting connection, for sure.
Yeah, it is. And, she's been pretty open about the fact that her own political views, especially her concerns about honesty in conservative politics, played a role in her writing this book.
Right, which is something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that a book can be inspired by an author's personal beliefs without becoming, preachy or overly political.
Exactly. And it sounds like Snyder found that balance, like a sweet spot.
From what I've seen in the reviews, absolutely.
They're saying it's still a gripping thriller. It's not bogged down by the politics.
Yeah, she manages to weave those concerns into the narrative without sacrificing the suspense.
Which is pretty impressive, especially for a first-time thriller writer.
And remember all that research she did?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
Into the world of espionage and political maneuvering?
Did that research shine through in the writing?
Oh, definitely. It's all there. The way she portrays the CIA, the inner workings, the technology.
Like the surveillance stuff.
All of it felt very authentic, very believable.
I keep forgetting this is her first thriller. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Right. It really speaks to her commitment to crafting a story that feels grounded in reality.
Even though it takes us on this crazy ride through espionage and conspiracy.
Exactly. And you know what else I found fascinating?
What's that?
The setting. We talked about it earlier, but it's worth revisiting.
Midwest.
Right. Not your typical thriller locale.
Definitely not. I mean, most books in this genre, they're set in D.C. or some foreign country.
Exactly, but Snyder chose the Midwest, and I think it was a brilliant move.
Why do you think so?
Well, by placing this high-stakes conspiracy within a seemingly ordinary setting, she creates this really stark contrast.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It highlights the idea that, even in the heartland of America,
Yeah.
these forces of power, these dark secrets.
They're everywhere.
Exactly.
Nowhere is immune.
It makes you wonder what might be lurking beneath the surface of your own town,
Right.
your own community.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling.
Oh, definitely. And, that sense of danger is heightened by the fact that Alex is up against some pretty powerful people.
People who are willing to do whatever it takes to protect their interests.
Exactly. We talked about those moral dilemmas he faces, right?
Yeah, caught between his loyalty to his country and his growing realization that something is really wrong.
And that's what makes him such a compelling character, don't you think?
Absolutely. He's not a superhero, he's just a regular guy.
Thrust into an extraordinary situation.
He makes mistakes, he doubts himself, but ultimately he wants to do the right thing.
Which is something I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, we all have those moments where we have to make tough choices.
Where we question what we believe in.
And it's not always easy to know the right path.
And, it's not just Alex who faces these challenges. The other characters, even those who might seem morally ambiguous,
Right.
they all have their own motivations, their own reasons for doing what they do.
So it's not a simple black and white world.
Not at all. It's a world of shades of gray, and Snyder does a great job of exploring those complexities.
It's like real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes you think, makes you question.
And that's what good storytelling should do, right?
Absolutely. First Assignment is a thriller that stays with you.
It gets under your skin.
Makes you think about the world and the people in it in a new way.
Okay, so we've talked about Snyder's background, her research, the unique setting, the complex characters.
And those moral dilemmas they face.
Yeah, but there's one element we haven't really explored in depth yet.
What's that?
The romance.
Ah, yes. The love story that unfolds amidst all this danger and intrigue.
It's a classic thriller trope, but when it's done well, it can really add to the story.
Oh, absolutely. And in First Assignment, the romance is definitely not just an afterthought.
So what can you tell us about Alex's love interest without giving too much away?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the woman he's drawn to initially seems to be connected to the conspiracy he's investigating.
Yeah, talk about a recipe for disaster.
It definitely throws a wrench into things. I mean, their relationship starts out full of suspicion and mistrust.
I can imagine.
But as they get to know each other, things start to shift.
So there's a spark between them.
Definitely. And it's that push and pull, that tension that makes their relationship so captivating.
Forbidden love always has that extra edge.
It does. They find themselves relying on each other, confiding in each other, even though they're both operating in this world where trust is a risky proposition.
Yeah, it's like they're both walking a tightrope.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the romance brings out a different side of Alex.
In what way?
We see his vulnerability, his capacity for love and trust, even in the midst of all this chaos.
It humanizes him, makes him even more relatable.
Exactly. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, we're all capable of connection, of compassion.
And those moments shine even brighter against the backdrop of, all this corruption and betrayal.
It's a powerful reminder that even when things seem bleak, hope and love can still exist.
I'm seeing why people are raving about this book.
It really does seem to have it all.
Suspense, intrigue, romance, and a healthy dose of real-world relevance.
And it leaves you with a lot to think about long after you finish the last page.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive.
Into First Assignment.
You got it. We've explored the plot,
The characters.
all those twists and turns.
And, of course, Mary Snyder's fascinating background.
It is wild.
But now, I think it's time to step back.
Look at the bigger picture.
What are the key takeaways from this story?
Yeah. And why is it resonating so strongly with readers right now?
Well, one thing that keeps popping up in the reviews is
Yeah.
how timely and relevant the book feels.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a story about corruption, abuse of power, and the struggle to uncover the truth.
Yeah. Those themes feel incredibly relevant to what's happening in the world today.
It's almost like Snyder has tapped into this collective anxiety we're all experiencing.
Oh, yeah.
This feeling that something's not quite right.
That things are kind of falling apart.
Exactly. And First Assignment brings those fears to life.
But in a way that's both thrilling and unsettling.
It makes you question who you can trust.
Even those in positions of authority.
And that's where the real tension lies.
It's not just about catching the bad guys.
It's about grappling with the disillusionment that comes from realizing that the world is a lot more complicated than we'd like to believe.
Alex, our protagonist,
He starts out so idealistic,
wants to serve his country.
but as he digs deeper into this conspiracy,
He's forced to confront a very different reality.
the systems he believed in may be deeply flawed.
It's like a loss of innocence almost.
Right. And I think a lot of readers can relate to that feeling.
Yeah, we're all bombarded with information these days.
Conflicting narratives.
It's hard to know what to believe.
Exactly. So Alex's struggle to uncover the truth.
In this fictional world,
It kind of mirrors our own struggle to make sense of the world around us.
we're all trying to figure things out.
And what's interesting is that Snyder doesn't offer any easy answers.
Yeah, no clear-cut solutions.
She presents a world where the lines between right and wrong are often blurred.
where even good intentions can lead to unintended consequences.
Exactly. It's messy.
Complicated.
And I think that's why critical thinking is so important.
Now more than ever.
We can't just accept things at face value.
We have to question, to dig deeper.
To consider different perspectives.
Just like Alex does in the book.
He doesn't just blindly follow orders.
He trusts his instincts.
His own moral compass.
Even when it puts him at odds with the very people he's supposed to trust.
And that takes courage.
Especially when you're going up against powerful forces trying to keep the truth hidden.
It's a reminder that we all have a choice.
To speak up?
To stand up for what we believe in.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's risky.
I think that's a powerful message.
Especially in today's world.
So what else do you think Snyder wants readers to take away from First Assignment?
Be more aware, more engaged.
Don't be passive.
Question everything.
Challenge assumptions.
And never underestimate the power of your own voice.
Well said. Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into First Assignment.
A fascinating journey.
It really has been. If you haven't already, definitely add First Assignment to your reading list.
It's a thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat.
And make you think.
And if you're looking for more thought-provoking reads, be sure to check out our YouTube channel.
We've got tons of in-depth book summaries and reviews waiting for you.
So be sure to subscribe.
And until next time.
Happy reading!